All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid network as the Rose Bowl. It's there. It's not much of a game though. As Ohio State 34-0 right now over Oregon. 2 minutes to go in the first half here, and to say it's one-sided probably doesn't do it justice here. In-game number, just in case you're joining us, 31.5 if you want to lay that with Ohio State, because it's probably not enough. 61.5 is the total in-game here, which, again, is so interesting. If you'd have told me Ohio State's going to get 31.5 points in the first half, and you're going to tell me the in-game total is just 5 points higher than what it closed at, I would have laughed at you. But Colby Dant, that is the situation we are in right now, where it is, I mean, there's one-sided, and then there is this. And this is a totally different animal.
Joe. We got Butler, Villanova. Happy New Year.
Yeah. We got college basketball at least, Colby, to keep an eye on, because this game is all she wrote. This game is over. But I do find it interesting because Ohio State's still got 2 more games to play if they want to win a national championship. So I would imagine at some point in the second half, man, you got to be a little cautious, don't you?
Yeah, I would think so too. I mean, I would say you pull your guy. I don't think Oregon will be able to score, that many points and keep Ohio State from scoring the rest of the way. I would pull the guys, but yeah, we've never seen this before. And clearly the committee got it wrong by letting an undefeated Oregon into the playoff. And how could they let them in with their perfect record, and just this game's going to be the biggest blowout of them all.
Colby, I got to tell you one thing, what's working for Ohio State, and I told Joe, and we played sports before. Joe was a great baseball player at Oklahoma State, whatever. You don't keep your foot off the throttle till you need to. That's what's working for Ohio State. And we talked about this. This is my opinion. The minute you lost as a 22-point dog against Michigan, everything changed. And they took their frustration out on Tennessee. People were like, oh, it's one game. They just look like a different team now. They look crisp. They look like angrier. This is the thing. You can't take anybody lightly. And that loss, actually, in my opinion, was the best thing that happened to them. Your thoughts?
No, I completely agree. And them getting a home playoff game was huge. That you could argue they probably didn't deserve that, but they got that. They destroyed Tennessee, and I think they found their rhythm in battling that adversity. I think you see it with so many championship teams in the NFL. We've never had this really before in college that often, besides maybe that Bama LSU one with Saban back in the day, where they got that rematch. But getting the rematch is psychologically, everything here. You got Oregon hoisted a trophy. Big Ten championship, which meant nothing. If anything, it got the hardest route. And then, Ohio State's a team that it was humiliating. And now, they get into the playoffs, host a home game. So, I just think, and getting the rematch and everything, and the way they lost that first one in Autzen, I was all over the Bucs. Now, I didn't have it 31-0 at halftime. I just thought they would win this thing, though, by 7-10. I just thought they were going to get this revenge, but this is quite impressive.
You guys see that last play? The Ohio DB ran the route for him. He was 6 yards ahead of the guy, Joe. It's like they know what's coming. That's the crazy thing, guys. It's wow. This is shocking. They're all over everything.
Well, it's and sorry, Dan Lanning, but what a wake up call here, because your kids are quitting on you. In essence, and what we're seeing here, the defense, no answer. Offensively, Dylan Gabriel's running around for his life right now. It's Dan Lanning has had no answers, and neither is his coaching staff. But call me crazy. This is the kind of loss and beatdown where, boy, Oregon got to re-go to the drawing board, because I can't remember Oregon being in a spot like this where, they had the chip on the shoulder. They had the extra week to prepare. They were the dog. They felt like they were being disrespected. To come out with this kind of effort, man, you got to start looking in the mirror of this coaching staff at Oregon and be like, you got to be kidding me. It's not like you never faced them. Like, you had already beaten them. this is just inexcusable as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think though this is where they want to correct it and do home games because it just doesn't make when you really when you look at what happened. Look, I'm not an Oregon fan by any means, but I just think they got dealt a really bad hand. They got dealt a really bad hand by, if this game was at Autzen, I guarantee you this: I would still take Ohio State, but I definitely it would not be 31-0. It would not, and yeah, and I think it's just they got to correct this thing because they got. I mean, we all saw it when they released the bracket. We're like, wow, one side of the bracket. You know, even if Ohio State wins this, there's a good chance they're going to get Texas and potentially Georgia or a rematch with Penn State. So that the one seed should not have to go through that.
Yes, the FCS is awesome, and he's the guy that knows everything. Joe, look at these Montana State games. You're the one seed, you roll it home. It's that simple. Yep. You earn the right. What is the regular? That's why we hate. Like I'm an NHL guy, play hockey. I'm like, what are you guys doing with this stuff at the end of the year? So the regular season means nothing? You bust your ass, you lose teeth for what? You need that home field advantage when it counts the most. That's why the FCF gets it. These guys get it right, Colby. And you've been talking about this for years.
Yeah, it's not only FCS, D2, D3, any real, you know, they just, I don't understand why college football does. And if you didn't see, I know the Rose Bowl was the most expensive ticket, but the other ones, you know, you could get into that Peach Bowl for like what, $14. Yeah. They probably give you a coffee cup, a beer, a hot dog, because they needed to get people in there. Yeah. So put the games on campus. You won't have a problem with the travel. But you know, they're figuring it out, I think, as we go. But I do find it hilarious the narrative that, hey man, there's all these blowouts, SMU and you know, whoever you want to argue, Indiana, they shouldn't have been in. But we saw how Bama looked, and then look at the one seed is getting worked the most out of any of them.
Yeah, the Big Ten's dangerous.
And
dangerous.
The best part is there's an 8 next to Ohio State's name. So, I mean, that may be the funniest thing of it all is that the 8th seed right now is destroying the undefeated team in the cut. Like, this whole system has to be rethought on how they're going to do this here. But the good news is there's only, 2 seconds left, and Dan Lanning can go back in and maybe break a couple of chairs and a chalkboard or something and pretend like they actually have a chance.
Yes.
But they are with 2 seconds left. I mean, do you get the 3 points here, Colby, and try to, use that? Or do you go for it and just be like, hey, they're first and goal, 3 seconds left? I mean, at this point, any points on the board, I think, is what your team needs not to be shut out in the first half.
I think you got to take the 3. I know that sounds kind of. We've seen the Bills Oilers are 92. You know, we've seen some crazy comebacks before. Just get on the board, take that as a positive. You never know if Will Howard historically has thrown a lot of pick sixes, whether he's at K-State or whether with the Buckeyes. See the Michigan game or the Penn State game. So I think you take the 3, get on the board, and rethink it, and maybe you can pull something out. But I kind of think this is cooked regardless. But if I was the coach, I'd take.
Oh, it is cooked.
Oh,
it's cooked. But we also have to see the effort. I got to see what kind of coaching job we're doing here, Dan Lanning. Are these kids coming out deflated and that's it? Are you playing for next year? Like, I got to see the kind of effort we're going to get from this Oregon team here. Ohio State is just prolonging the inevitable here, 34-0. They are going to go for it. 3 seconds left. They are inside the 3-yard line, I think. So we'll see if Oregon can score a touchdown. I doubt it, but Colby, don't go anywhere. I want to get your thoughts on what we saw earlier today and a potential matchup as in-game live game day continues on the grid.
In the heart of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans, bound by passion. each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five, because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhart and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480? I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live, game day here, and we are mercifully at the break at the Rose Bowl, but not before Oregon was finally able to find pay dirt. A touchdown plus 2-point conversion makes it a 34-8 Ohio State halftime lead here. Joe Raineri alongside Cam Stewart. We welcome back in Colby, Dan, and listen, much needed points and some success offensively finally for the Oregon Ducks. 34-8 right now here, Colby. They do get the kickoff to start the second half. And again, I don't want to say it's must, but you need to keep your foot going here, Oregon, at least now with points on the board. You got to feel better that maybe they come out with a little bit more fire than what we saw for basically 3/4 of this first half.
Yeah, you would think if you come out, to me, you got to score on the opening drive. That has to be a touchdown on the opening drive of the second half. And I actually would consider, with the way their defense just gave up 400 yards in the first half, 392, I think it was. I would consider an onside kick after scoring too. If you do that, because the way your defense, I don't know that this is fixable for this game. Maybe you get a few stops, but I would consider doing something like that. But pretty crazy. Like I said, I liked Ohio State, but I did not think it would be this big of a shellacking.
Guys, the old Saints versus Colts Super Bowl. Never saw it coming. Remember that? Joe, you do it at the weird time, and back in the day, Peyton Manning and the Goliaths that were the Indianapolis Colts, and that helped the Saints in that game. So, yeah, you got to be desperate. So, Colby, what do you do live right now? Interesting point that you bring up, too. Say you try an onside kick, unsuccessful, but the total's live 66.5 and 23.5. Do you think Oregon can kind of make a game of it, or are they going to get throttled? This is a hard game from a live betting perspective right now, but what would you do?
Yeah, I would say I would probably, because the angle here would be, if even, let's say Oregon, this game's out of reach, I do expect if one more quarter passes and it's the same score, or even if it's, to 16, if Oregon gets one score and a 2-point conversion, I still think Ohio State's going to pull those starters in the fourth. I think they're going to pull those starters in the fourth. So I think Oregon will be able to dress it up a little bit. So I think the play is probably just taking Oregon in the points. As far as the total, I think the total's slippery because of that angle of potentially getting rid of the starters for Ohio State. So I would a slight lean towards taking the over at that number, but that's mainly just hoping that the Ducks can score a few times in the third before Ohio State pulls their starters.
I would almost just lay the 3 with Oregon in the second half and just expect them. I'd lay the 3 in the second half and just expect Oregon to outscore Ohio State in the second half, simply because they're going to have to run up tempo. Ohio State is not. Ohio State's going to try to milk the clock for as much as they can. So I like that look there. Expect Oregon. I'll lay the 3 in the second half with Oregon on that one. We did get quite a game there earlier today, right at the Peach Bowl there with Texas and Arizona State. What a comeback by Arizona State there in that fourth quarter. Almost pulled it off, but Texas survives and advances, and that's really the name of the game here, Colby. They'll await the winner of this game here. And my other fear right now is that they're going to see Arizona State took Texas to the wire, double overtime. They're seeing how easy Ohio State's beating the snot out of Oregon. Texas is going to have all the value, Colby. I mean, that's just the reality of what we're looking at right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was alarming today, though. Like, I had Texas, and they only ran for 53 yards. Like, Texas has the best offensive line in the country to me. I don't understand how that happened. Kudos to Arizona State. I still don't know what targeting is based on that one call, but wow. Do you guys have any idea of like what?
No,
I saw. I have no idea. If I had to explain it to aliens, I would say they just randomly call this penalty sometimes.
Even the spots, Colby. Like today's game was just weird in so many areas. So like ball half a yard back, forward. We're checking this out. Like I'm watching this, going really, and I got to be honest with you, too. I had Arizona State in this game, and I'm thinking they could have won this game outright. You said it, like Texas, like Ewers missed some throws, and if Scatterbo was healthy, I told Joe, they lost the ball turnover on downs inside the 2-yard line. Like, they could have won this game. It was almost crazy. They have no kicker. A kick got blocked, too. Like, Texas is so damn lucky, Colby, and I got to be honest with you, concerning when you watch this offense play. Other than Golden, the wicked receiver who is Golden, they did nothing.
I really think Steve Sarkisian is not, struggles in big games. You're watching that game today. I know they were in control. I don't understand, like, this box score is like almost an anomaly when it comes to college football, because Arizona State severely outgained. And I know there was a punt return for a touchdown, which throws the numbers off a tiny bit, but Arizona State was kind of the better. If you just look at the stats, they were much better than Texas. Texas just was able to get up early to Arizona State, just 4th and 1. They tried to go right into the guts of the defense for Texas, which is always a bad idea. But I didn't think they looked very good. And I thought Texas did everything they could to lose that game. And they kind of looked underprepared despite being up majority of the game. I know it's just a weird game in that regard. But yeah, as far as next week, you would think if Ohio State's up this much, you'd think Texas and the points would be the play.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, too, because I thought the Texas defense is every bit as good as I thought they were. And if it wasn't for that Texas defense today, they were very bend, don't break. They showed up when they had to. And boy, did they have to there. We'll close it out here in game live game day as we get ready for what should be an interesting second half. We'll get Colby Dance best bets when we get out of here. In game live continues here on the Grid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here as we look to close out this hour together, getting ready for hopefully what will be a little more competitive second half here at the Rose Bowl as Ohio State, pure domination in the first half, 34-8 right now over the Oregon Ducks. Oregon does receive the kickoff in the third quarter. Colby Dant with us here. And Colby, I'm with you. I think we're all in agreement. Oregon probably wins this second half, if not in garbage time in the fourth quarter. We'll probably end up scoring more points in the second half than Ohio State. Not that it matters at this point. But looking ahead, 4 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow at the Superdome is when they're planning Notre Dame and Georgia because of the tragedy right now in New Orleans early this morning. They have postponed that till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's a lot of things going on there for these two teams and the fans and everything else. I'm still seeing a pick 'em price one way or the other. The total is 45. I always thought that felt like it was going to be much more of the defensive game of the remaining games. I still think that game is going to be woefully under the total here. Are you expecting more scoring in that one like we're seeing here?
No. If anything, that was my side. This is I thought it was the most fascinating game out of all four personally, just because of the injuries. And now I'm sitting there. I mean, does this benefit by it going one more day, because of this tragedy? I was trying to think, is there an angle that would help in Georgia, maybe another day? I don't know. I was trying to think, but I like the under. And I if I had to take a team, I'd take a shot on the Irish. I think they've been due for so long, and they have the better quarterback. And to me, I trust that just against both defenses are pretty good, but Georgia's defense isn't as good as it's been over the past few years. So I would say for the game, give me the Irish, but I think the best play you can do on the board is that under.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Joe, I was thinking too, I'm already on the under the game, but Like that Notre Dame, the way they played against Indiana and Rourke, like the way they shut them down. And despite Georgia being amazing, this is not the same Georgia team as we've seen. We've seen teams go up and down them, Colby, like Texas, who looked like offensively challenged today. Remember, a touchdown off a kick return and all the other stuff, short fields because Arizona State screwed up. So I got to believe, I like your angle with Notre Dame. And I think maybe because they've been so close, I think if you're going to get Georgia, basically this is the year you can get Georgia in a low-scoring affair. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it just feels like people are associating Georgia with the Georgia of years past, and that's not what we have this year at all there. Who wins the Natty, Colby? Who's your pick to win the national championship of these teams we've seen?
I mean, I think the Buckeyes, but everyone's going to be coming in on it. How about this now? I think you can pivot to Penn State. We talk about Ohio State getting that rematch against Oregon. Well, Penn State can get that rematch against Ohio State, and maybe that would be an angle. I kind of like their path to get there. I'm always terrified of betting on James Franklin, though. But coming into the playoffs, I thought Ohio State was the angle. But that side of the bracket, you gotta like it if you're a Penn State fan. So plus 440. Maybe Texas upsets Ohio State. I think Penn State could beat Texas. I really do. So if that was the national championship, then you're looking good.
Yeah. And that's a good number, too, by the way, at Penn State. Nobody seems to be talking about them. And
They're
yet,
so
they did.
Joe.
Yeah.
All they do is create turnovers. Like you saw in the SMU game. I'm like, how did they win this number by this number? That's what they do. They've been very opportunistic. Yeah, you want to get in front of them. That's for sure.
They made Genti, who, him and Scatterbo, the two best running backs in the country, they made him look like a second stringer there. So that defense is real. Defense wins championships. And it feels like Penn State's got a defense that I think can go toe-to-toe with just about anybody. Obviously, we've seen what Ohio State's defense can do early on. We are about 5 minutes away to start the second half. Colby Dant, always a pleasure to see you here, my man. Hopefully, Oregon gives us a little something to root for, makes it competitive here in the second half. But enjoy your new year here. Welcome to 2025. We're looking forward to seeing you again, no doubt, here on In Game Live. Cam and I will be back for the second half at the Rose Bowl when In Game Live Game Day continues.
In the heart of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans, bound by passion. Each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all. And too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why?
Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five, because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhart and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480? I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today. only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Off and running another hour together here in game live game day on the Sports Grid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Cam Stewart as we're just a couple of minutes away from the second half kicking off at the Rose Bowl. Oregon set to get that third quarter first possession, a all-important one as they ended the first half on a high note. Nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, went well for them in that first half, except for that final possession there and 2-point conversion. 34-8 right now. Ohio State, pure domination in every way, shape, or form there, Cam. Oregon going to start with the ball here in the second half. To say that they need to get points is a understatement. But they were outgained 390 to 139 yards in the first half, Cam. That is pure domination. So my question is, does Dan Lanning, if he's as good a coach as everyone seems to think he is, what adjustments are you going to make in order to limit another 390-yard second half here?
I don't know, Joe. I don't know if they can. And I'm going to tell you, I know the second half Oregon Ducks make sense, but I'll tell you one thing. If this gap continues and they don't execute on fourth down and give Ohio State short fields, that's the only way it can implode. You need the Ducks to come out and put points on the board early, and then you could start talking. I think this first couple drives are key, if not vital, for Oregon second half bets. Because if not, as the game goes, they're going to have to go for on fourth down. They can't give Ohio State back the ball. They're down 1 million. That's the whole thing, Joe. So vital. The first drive out of the gate, they need points. Or else they're dead.
Well, they need stops, too. And if I'm Dan Lanning, I am having a conversation with the defense there. And I am you're going to learn a little something about these players you got, Dan Lanning, because you cannot let Smith beat you anymore. I don't care if you have to put 3 guys on him. Do not let him run wild and beat you. So this, to me, is all about coaching now, right? We've had questions about Ryan Day over the years and his in-game coaching ability. Well, I can tell you this. Would it really shock any of us if Ryan Day makes a couple of boneheaded decisions here in the second half and gets Oregon back in it? Probably not, but it might be a case where, listen, don't do anything stupid. You ran for over 100 yards in the first half. Just keep handing Henderson the ball. Keep moving the chains, chew the clock down, and make it so it doesn't make a difference. Oregon not going to get enough possessions there in order to make this a game. But 34-8 right now is what we are looking at in this one, Cam. And again, those that are just joining us, it does appear that the Notre Dame-Georgia game tomorrow, 4 o'clock Eastern time, will be the kick for that. It was scheduled to go tonight, but because of the tragedy in New Orleans, they have pushed this back until tomorrow afternoon. And as we get more information, we'll pass that along. The line still seems to be Pick'em, 1 Notre Dame, total 45, somewhere in that ballpark. And we talked, Cam, as far as that game goes, it's an under for me. In that first half under, full game under. It feels like we're going to see a really good defensive battle in that game all day long, I think, in that spot.
Couldn't agree more. And I know a lot of people like the under, but it's not changing my opinion. I think Notre Dame's key is defense in Georgia. That they have a defense that can stop Notre Dame. A lot of punting, 3s instead of 7s. 45 is the total. I like Notre Dame like 21-20 or 2017 or something. You know what I mean, Joe? Around that. It's going to be an old school, grind them out, punch them in the face type of game. And to Colby's point, I lean Notre Dame. I think this is the one year that you can get Georgia. I think the Fighting Irish get it done, maybe win by a field goal and get it done. But I love the under. Agreed.
So it's interesting, too, because Penn State awaiting the winner of that Georgia Notre Dame game tomorrow. 4 o'clock Eastern time will be the kick there. We already know Texas earlier today in double overtime in an epic game against Arizona State. And hats off to Dillingham, the coach of Arizona State, and all those players, Scatabo, even Levitt, the rookie QB. All signs pointing up to the program at Arizona State, Cam. I'm looking forward to seeing what that coach does, does Levitt come back? Does Scatterbo does the NIL, can they not compete with the NIL money that's going to be out there? I'm looking forward to seeing. I mean, Arizona State over the years has had some pretty high profile players, as well. Don't forget Jaden Daniels. Yeah, he ended at LSU, but his career started at Arizona State. They've had a few good players over the years in the NFL too. So it's going to be interesting to see. Can they get the kinds of recruits? Can they level that program up and be consistent with it in a Big 12 conference, Cam, that, we say is not altogether that great?
Great call, Joe. Remember the old days, Jake the Snake Plummer, Brock Osweiler, not great NFL careers, but great college quarterbacks with the Sun Devils, right? Like that used to be their calling card, right? So good players. I'm with you. And right now, when I watch that kid play, remember they did this without Jordan Tyson, the best receiver too.
Yes.
He was on the sideline. So they had second and third guys like step up. They had a few drops. I'm telling you, Joe, if you're a player, and you're in the transfer portal, Arizona State, why wouldn't you want to go there? You said it. You gave the perfect answer. Big 12, weak. You guys, strong. Strength at a lot of positions. And a couple more, little bit on the line. You need help in the secondary. It's one of those things. Transfer portal, if they make the right moves with a great coach who nobody quit for, this is a destination spot. Hell, I'd love to live in Arizona too. You got golf, you got everything, you got a night. Oh man, what a spot. You'd love to go to school there. Arizona State, top of the list for me. Party time. It's a party school too. If I wasn't playing football, I'd like to go there. Right, Joe?
Yep. I agree.
Fun.
Yeah, but it's all about the almighty dollar now. So it'll be interesting to see. Because I do believe Scatterbo, and listen, even the freshman quarterback, they probably made themselves a lot of money with that effort here in this game on the national stage against Tech. And don't be surprised if Texas ain't calling and being like, hey. And it's also going to be interesting because Quinn Ewers did himself. They won the game, but it was that interception as usual. They didn't look great, but to me, you got Manning waiting in the wings there. It's very strange to me how they've handled the whole Manning thing at quarterback there with him coming in to run like bootlegs and be a running quarterback. It's strange, Cam, to me.
They didn't use him to know what the crazy thing is, Joe? Another great point by you. They didn't use him today. And they're like, this is usually where Arch Manning comes in. And I'm like, what's going on? Ewers was hurt, and he's running bootlegs and almost getting killed. And there was also another touchdown. There was an extreme holding call. Again, and the ref didn't throw it on Arizona State. It was criminal. And I'm telling you, Ewers barely got to the end zone. Great point by you. It was nuts. And they had no plays in the playbook for this kid. It was very odd. And I didn't understand why, because Ewers didn't look good at all. Very, very weird by Sarkisian and crew.
And they are off and running, by the way, at the Rose Bowl, third quarter, Oregon with the ball. We will take a look at the in-game number here for this and, of course, try to see if there is a opportunity to be able to jump back in. But this is all about Oregon trying to get some more points on the board. Will they? Won't they? Probably not, but we've got you covered. In-game live game day continues on the grid.
Probably not.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the Sports Grid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Cam Stewart as the second half is off and running here at the Rose Bowl, and Oregon doing exactly what they need to do, which is continue to move the chains and give themselves an opportunity to get a touchdown and another opportunity at a two-point conversion. That's how they ended the first half. Not that it's not enough as they are down 34-8. But Cam, the reason that you went for it with about 3 seconds left, they were inside the 5-yard line at the end of the second quarter, was because you knew you were getting the ball in a possible 2-for-1 situation, and that is where they find themselves here. So it is going to be interesting as they find that big tight end for Oregon, too, has had some success here early on. And I believe, Cam, they are going to have an opportunity at about 5 yards or so. If they can punch it in here, they'll execute that 2-for-1, that's good. So now what that means is that Ohio State can't stop playing. There is no thinking about anything other than, okay, now can Oregon do enough defensively adjustment-wise, Cam, in order to – because, again, scoring is – we all thought Oregon would score, especially in the second half with garbage time and everything else. But if you can't get any defensive stops, Cam, what difference does it make, right? It's got to be about the defense here.
You're absolutely correct, Joe. And think about it. If they score and get a two-point conversion, 34-16, and then stop them, does it get a little bit tighter with Ohio State?
Yeah.
You're damn right it does. Like, there's a lot of football left still. Like, there's 9 minutes left here in the third quarter. They score, anything's possible. We've seen the craziness. Remember, Arizona State was getting absolutely thumped, not to this score, but it was close, and they came back and dominated the fourth quarter, and we've seen big swings in college football. But you're right, Joe. It's all about the defense. Can they make any adjustments? They were horrible in the first half. Ohio State did anything they wanted to.
Yeah. 9 completions in a row for Dylan Gabriel, and that's that was a little bit more like the Oregon Ducks here that we expected. It just took them forever to be able to get there, and it's not been good. So they are hoping right now. I do believe second and goal, they had to take a timeout, Cam. So We'll let you know as soon as that. Yeah, no. That's
those are
second and goal
valuable,
from the 3.
It's huge, man. Like, you need those at the end of the game. You got the automatic 2, and then you need your timeouts. Like, I get it, but you're at the 2-yard line. Maybe if you had a 4th and goal from like the 13 or something, I'm sorry. I get it. You want to get it right and get back in the game, but they're very valuable, Joe, and they need to be treated as such. That's just run a couple plays. That's my take.
You have to get stops, and we'll see if he can do that there. Quick note here. We got a couple of other games in college basketball going on, thank goodness. We have Louisville at home taking on North Carolina. They're at the break there. Louisville up 37-31. As two programs in the ACC, Cam, ironically enough, neither ranked right now, which who would have thought that? But Louisville at home, 37-31. I will remind everyone, Cam, guess who's the second half team? That would be North Carolina. So you may want to take a look at that second half line there and see what we've got. Also, Villanova and Butler at the break, 31-30. Butler on top of Villanova, that too at Hinkle Fieldhouse there. That one also at the break right now. So a little bit of college football, a little bit of college basketball. We got some NBA games currently underway with Orlando and Detroit, as well as Chicago and Washington. We got a couple of games late that are going to be interesting too, Cam, especially in Denver with Atlanta, as well as Dallas and Houston coming up in the association. Anything left in the NHL?
Nope, just one game on the sched today, Joe. New Jersey, and I'm on them. They're down 1-0 to the Kings. I will actually take New Jersey live. Thanks for reminding me. Plus 185 live. Give me the Devils. And I'll tell you something, Joe. I don't know what's going on with Washington. Have you seen these guys' scores lately in the last 6 to 10 games? We have a live total of 254.5. I repeat, we have a live total of 254.5. Bulls and Wizards. Wow. That's a lot.
That's just crazy. There's 6.5 minutes to go in the first quarter, and we're already up to that. So what is that telling you about the defensive effort we're going to get from Chicago and Washington? Unbelievable here. And we also, Cam, should take a look at, I believe, how 34-8. So they are inside the red zone, the Oregon Ducks against the Ohio State Buckeyes. And, I mean, the numbers have been astronomical for Will Howard and for Jeremiah Smith, who has just absolutely torched everyone. But Dylan Gabriel slowly but surely figuring out, and the yardage is getting there for him. And I know there were some guys on his props here today as well. And, yes, I would say probably a little less running, a little more throwing for Dylan Gabriel, which means we're probably got a good shot of getting up and over his throwing total here at some point as well, Cam. So don't quit on any Dylan Gabriel props yet.
Good call there, Joe. And I'll tell you another thing, too, for Ohio State. I know the receivers went off, but what about our boy Henderson here? He had a big, long touchdown. We already hit that touchdown prop. I expect him to be fed early and often if you're Ohio State and keep those sticks moving. That's the play. I think, they're short. Touchdown. We got a football game. We got a game.
Noah Whittingham, a touchdown for the Oregon Ducks. Now, I'm assuming, I guess it doesn't matter, right? You can probably just go for one, I believe, at this point. You got to go for
two every time. Every time, Joe. What are you down? You're down 34 to 14. You got to go for two. 34, 16, 18. Two touchdowns, 2-point conversions, and a field goal makes 18. How's that math?
Okay.
8, 16.
There you go.
No, 19, actually.
Done. And that's which is why they're kicking the extra point, I think. Yeah, so that's why they're kicking the extra point.
And I went to community college. I see you. Turn off my mic. See everybody. I can't add.
All right. So far, so good. Second half Ducks. They are on top. Can the defense get a stop? We'll find out next here in Game Live. Game Day on the Grid.
I'm like, okay, Joe.
In the heart of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans bound by passion. Each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five, because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhart and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480? I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri and Cam Stewart. As well, listen, as bad as it was for the Oregon Ducks and the pure domination and the whooping they received by Ohio State in that first half, they ended the half and started the third quarter flawlessly, as they have now put up 15 points here in their last 2 possessions, 34-15, Cam. In game, I'm seeing 19 and a half. The total up to 70 here, Cam, is what we're seeing right now as they get ready. The first possession for Ohio State is coming up in Will Howard. And to me, this is where we're going to learn whether or not we've got ourselves a game, or if it really doesn't make a difference what Oregon does. Ohio State is just going to absolutely pummel them. They have to get a stop here, Cam.
They do, Joe. But I just thought about this too, with the, due to the tragedy, no Sugar Bowl tonight, and TV networks wouldn't be happy if Ohio State ran away with it. Like, I think I'm going to go watch Dateline or some other sport tonight. Let's keep everybody interested in the Rose Bowl here as we keep it within a reasonable number. But you're absolutely right, my friend. This is going to be a huge drive. What is Howard and Ohio State going to do? They want to run the ball, take time off, but also not be too predictable and too easy. They got to actually still attack like they did in the first half. And if they punt the ball and Oregon gets a ball with good field position, Joe, or and scores, it's on. Because we've seen this before. Then the news. Remember, you know this, Joe. College is different than the pros. You start to going, oh my God, what happened? We were up like 34-0, and all of a sudden these guys are 34-21, 22. Like, what? Oh my God! Like, they start freaking out, and then you look and go, there's a hell of a lot of football left. We've seen some comebacks before. Could be a miracle one again. I didn't see it that way, but got to give Oregon some credit. At least they're grinding.
Yeah, they're grinding. And again, I mean, you're a 13-0 team. I think you were more shell-shocked than anything else. But like you said, it is college. It is not the pros here. So there are wild swings in games that we need to know about, that we need to understand. And it does look like, and this was the thing I wanted to see, Cam, I wanted to see the energy and the effort and fire, right? Show me the passion, Oregon. Let me see where it was from this defense. And Boy, they got a big third down coming up here. If they can get the stop and have OSU have to kick the ball back, well, then we're starting to see, right? That's all about momentum in these games, and that's what it's all about. But if you can't get a stop here, it doesn't really make a difference. It's a half-hearted event, which means that for the most part, you're going to have, and it looks like they're going to get the ball back, I think, Cam.
Wow.
So that is a big defensive effort from Oregon. Big defensive effort.
I was thinking about this, my friend. So remember when Ohio State was kicking their ass and they were up there? Was it? Well, actually, it was 34-0. What was the biggest number you got Oregon at? Was it 24.5 or did they have a 27.5?
31.5. 31.5.
Imagine having a 31.5 in your back pocket with Ohio State money line or minus 2.5.
Yes.
That sounds pretty damn cool to me. And that's the whole situation we have going on, Joe. A lot of the people thinking they'd come back in the game, and I'll give you and Colby credit. I was a little bit more skeptical, but they've come out, scored. Now they're getting the ball back. It looks like we're going to have an interesting finish. This game is not over by a long shot. If they score a touchdown here, Ohio State's going to start freaking out. Then we're going to see what's going on.
Right. Well, again, they have to keep scoring. Bottom line, they got to get stops. They've done that. So far, Cam, everything we have seen in the last 8 minutes from this team, going back to, I think they got the ball back with just under 4 minutes to go before the break in the second quarter. What did they do? They marched down the field. They scored a touchdown. What else did they do? They went for 2. They got it. They took the opening kickoff in the third, marched down the field, scored the touchdown, kicked the extra point, and now the defense gets a 3 and out. They just have to keep rolling with that, and they give themselves an out team, because what happens here, Cam, I'd even go out on a limb and say, if they score here, all right, and even if it's a field goal, you got to keep putting points on the board, right? You're going to need multiple stops defensively. Slowly, every first down that they get, every point they get, all the pressure falls right back on Ryan Day and Ohio State. Every ounce of it. So that's where we said, all right, let's see Ryan Day. Has he learned anything here, or is he going to have his team coming out thinking that they can just sit on this lead and win this game? Oregon may have other thoughts. Going to be a good one. In-game live game day. Come back and join us here on the Grid.
In the heart of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans bound by passion, each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five, because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhardt and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480? I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today. only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here, and the Rose Bowl is the site of one of the playoff games here today, where the Oregon Ducks taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes, and it has been all Ohio State, certainly early on, but it's 34-15. We got about 6.5 minutes to go in the third quarter, and the defense of Ohio State has shown up here and has sacked Dillon Gabriel a couple of times on this drive. So Oregon is going to have to get rid of the ball. I don't know what Gabriel has been looking at here, but he's holding on to the ball far too long. And that Ohio State defense has put the pressure on, and they have gotten it there. So Dillon Gabriel, looks like they're spying Dillon Gabriel, and that's kind of what they've changed there. They got a guy right in the middle of the field, Cam, it looks like, who is just keeping an eye on Gabriel. Where he goes, they go, and it looks like he was either not expecting that, or it looks a little confusing to him right now. So that's why he got sacked in back-to-back plays. So Ohio State will get the ball with 5.5 to go. Pretty decent field position, but it doesn't change the fact for Oregon, the defense needs to get some stops here, Cam.
Great call, Joe. Another thing is, Ohio State gets the ball after that punt at the 44. To your point, how do you take 2 sacks on that drive and have like a 4th and 23?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Now you're setting these guys up at midfield. You can't do that. You got to throw the ball away. You have to at least pin them. Those 2 sacks cost them major field position. And if you're an Oregon better live, like, you got a big problem right now. You're setting up Ohio State. These guys are in the catbird seat right now, Joe. I'll tell you that. Any type of points, party's probably over. It looked very good on the first drive, but now the clock is your enemy, and you're setting up these guys who are already crushing you almost at midfield. Horrible, horrible possession by the Ducks.
And will the Buckeyes and Ryan Day, will they go conservative here on offense and run the risk of a possible couple of plays and out, have to punt the ball away? So this is a big possession for Ohio State. In-game number, Ohio State 18.5 is what I am seeing here, Cam. And I think if they go for, how many points right now? They get 34, so one more, 41. I think that would probably be all she wrote for them here at that point. 68.5 is the in-game total, Cam. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Yep, 18.5 Ohio State, and I'm seeing 68.5. Money line, if you think Oregon's got a chance to come back, you're getting 14-1 at plus 1,400. And if you're rich, Joe, and you want to lay 40 with Ohio State, minus 4,000, be my guess. No thanks.
Well, they're up 19 now, Cam. So if you wanted to hit Ohio State thinking they score another touchdown here, you certainly can do that. And then we'll see where Oregon goes. But again, the other problem that you have to fear is as this game gets into the fourth quarter, any more points for Ohio State here, and that's then it's just going to become tea time for the defensive front there of Ohio State. They're just going to pin their ear back and go after them. But that's where the garbage time points can come in. We've got what, Cam? 49 points right now with 5.5 minutes to go.
That is correct, Joe. 49, 5:32 left. So and Ohio State, these guys getting the ball at the 44. Great field position right now. I don't know, that's the whole thing. Oregon, it looked great on that first drive, Joe, but you said it. They have to maintain it. And if Ohio State bleeds clock and gets even 3 on this drive, you got big problems. You got to hold them to nothing and get the ball back quick.
Yep, you got to get it done. And 34 points in the first half, 5 minutes to go here in the third. And they only had the ball once in a quick 3 and out. So we'll see if this drive changes anything for them. Shout out to Texas getting it done earlier today in the Peach Bowl in 2 overtimes there against Arizona State, which was pretty impressive there, Cam. And A 39-31 final puts Texas in the semifinal. They are awaiting, and this is Friday, January the 10th, at the Cotton Bowl, which, of course, is in Texas. And if it stays the same, they'll be welcoming Ohio State into the Cotton Bowl there on Friday night. And then on the other side, Penn State won last night, Cam, and you and I both. It's interesting. Penn State flying under the radar, handling their business. That's a real defense. They'll await tomorrow's winner between Georgia and Notre Dame. But, might there be some value in thinking that Penn State can actually maybe get to this final and win something?
Big time. I look at them, Joe, and I'm thinking, Boise State's no slouch. They got up in that game and they won. Their defense has been impeccable. I know SMU, like we saw that game, they absolutely blew them away. But the one thing that I'm noting, Joe, is how good their defensive line, their secondary is amazing, their total defense is good, and as I said, they're opportunistic. When balls are tipped, they pick them off. They do a lot of the little things well. I don't think Franklin's a genius by any stretch of the imagination, but I'll tell you one thing, these athletes they have on Penn State can rival the Ohio State team, and you're getting a way better number on the Nittany Lions. And they're kind of in a good spot, right? Like, even Georgia or Notre Dame, I think they could beat either of those teams. Don't you think, Joe?
I agree. Listen, the clear favorite after this performance is certainly everyone's going to be looking at Ohio State, but that doesn't necessarily mean where the value is going to be there. So I do think there is going to be an opportunity here to jump on one of these other teams. And while Ohio State has looked really good in this particular spot against Oregon, it is a familiar foe, and they were waiting for this game. Then you got to worry about a letdown, Cam, don't you? Playing this kind of situation and then have to take on Texas, who I don't believe they played Texas this year, and kind of an unfamiliar foe in that spot. So, a lot of things were pointing towards Jeremiah Smith, by the way, 7 receptions, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns. It is just keep throwing the ball to him, and you guys will be okay as they continue to move the chains. That's a pretty good drive so far here by the Ohio State Buckeyes. And it does look like we've got, 6.5? As we're going to have face masks thrown all over the place. 68.5 is the number here, Cam. I don't.
Oh, God. You said it, Joe. That guy almost broke his neck. That's a huge face mask. 15 yards. They're on the doorstep now. They blocked it on my site, but I think, what's it going to be, Joe, when it pops up? 69.5? They're very close.
It could even be 70, right?
70.5.
It might even get up to 70.
Good call, Joe. Yeah, there we go. It's actually 69.5. I win on the game show. Didn't go over. 69.5 is your total, and Ohio State is laying 21.5. Knocking on the door. Yeah, exactly what Oregon did not need to happen here. But that's exactly where they find themselves, backed up in their own line there, a first and goal opportunity. So we'll see if the Ohio State Buckeyes, who dropped 34 in the first half, looking to drop at least a touchdown here in the second half, and that was probably going to be way too easy for them. And if they do, Cam, that would be a 41-point effort, 41-point effort. And then you've got to say, all right, does Ohio State, because how much time is left now? 2 minutes in the third? 2 minutes
then you got one more quarter.
Seconds. Henderson just scores a touchdown. Joe, by the way, we took him for 2 touchdowns instead of 1 to plus money, but we hit our prop. 219, 41-15. I say they take out their starters on the second drive of the fourth quarter.
That's what I'm thinking.
A 10-minute mark. 10-minute mark. That's what I'm thinking, Joe.
I'm thinking garbage time points are coming in the fourth quarter here. So Oregon will have an opportunity here to save face a little bit, but my goodness, pure domination by Ohio State. In-game live game day continues here on the grid.
In the heart of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans bound by passion. Each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five, because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhart and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480? I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Cam Stewart. Boy, if you would have told me that the blowout of the playoffs was going to come when we got to the Rose Bowl, I probably would have thought you were crazy, especially since the number one team in the country was playing in it. But they don't look anything like the number one team in the country, as the Oregon Ducks are trying to save face at this point, and I don't know that it's going to happen here, Cam, as Dillon Gabriel just does not look like he's got a clue. For a guy that just started his record 63rd college football game, that's a record, by the way. He looks like a freshman, like he hasn't played this game and no idea what he's doing, as guys have been wide open here now watching out of field, and he's just not a good game, not a heck of a way to go out for Dillon Gabriel, as you're not going to believe this. Down 41-15, and they are punting. I'll repeat.
That's concession.
What?
41-15, and they're punting with about 50 seconds to go.
Why?
That is the most unbelievable thing I have seen. Wow.
You know what? That's the
in
way
the
they,
Rose Bowl.
Joe, if you're on my staff and I'm like, no, who cares if you lose by 70 points? It doesn't matter. You're dead. As I said before, You're getting in a fight. The guy's murdering you. Don't you want to get a couple shots in before he knocks you out? Please go down swinging. You can't give the ball back.
They were 4th and 3. I mean, they were fourth. It wasn't like 4th and 18.
Yeah. How many sacks? Okay, I got a question for how many sacks does Ohio State have? I'm just trying to find it on the website here. I got to believe they have.
I believe 5. I think it's 5 now.
8, 5 or 6. Okay, I thought they'd have more than that, because I see Gabriel's ass on the turf a lot in this game. He's been eating grass, not smoking it, eating it.
And now the question is, all right, does Ohio State, now they're just probably going to run the ball, although it does look like, that's another thing, Cam, that I've seen. Not a whole lot of, but that might be coming back here. I have not seen a lot of flags in this game, if you noticed. Not a lot of holding, not a lot of not a lot of what we just saw. So the refs have had very little involvement in this game, which I think is a good thing because we watched the Texas and Arizona State game and we saw blatant holds and targeting and things that were not called in that game, which is very interesting. But hey, listen, I'm okay with a game that's 41-15 and the refs recognize it and they keep the flags in the pocket. I'm all right with that, Cam, at this point.
I am too. And the thing is, that other game was refereed horribly. Texas scored a touchdown on one of the most blatant holds I've ever seen. Colby talked about it. There was targeting calls that weren't even targeting. Like the referees got way too involved. Bad spots the whole game that were like questioned and reviewed. This game has been pretty clean. It's just Ohio State's been an amazing team. They've been fantastic. Joe, I have to say this too. The best is Ohio State's up 41-15 and Ryan Day's chewing out the ref on a holding call. He's like, what the hell? Yeah, he was going nuts. I'm like, that tells you about Ohio State's new attitude. I like these guys. I told you they're killers. Like they're going in there and they take no prisoners. He's pissed.
No, they have no problem here as a 41-15 game. And I'm telling you, I think the Ohio State defense was a little bent. They gave up back-to-back touchdowns there to Oregon, and boy, they look like they've just about had enough here. But Ohio State up. What do we got, Cam? Up 26 now on them with the fourth quarter coming, and it'll be a second down, I think, or first and long. They're inside there. It looks like the 15-yard line. So,
what do you think, though, Joe? Like the line total 69.5. I know we have the over already. Do you think they're going to get to 70? The way they've been sacking Gabriel. You know what? Sometimes I gotta like chill out, but I'm thinking they're at 56. They need 70. Do you think they get 14 points in a quarter? You tell me. I'm not sure. I
think so because Oregon is, pick six is in play.
Yeah.
Fumble, scoop and score. You know what I mean? Although the fact that Dan Lanning opted to punt there, down 41-15, might just be the most unbelievable thing I have seen, Cam, so far. I really don't know what he is punting for. I don't get it. Time is not on your side, so is that just a white flag? Is that what you're doing there, Cam?
Yes. It's a bad sign. Imagine you're playing on that team going, we're down. Like, you still have family members. You're playing for your brothers who are on the team. It's surrender. And I don't think it's cool. It's a Rose Bowl game, and you go for it. And Joe, it wasn't 4th and 22. It was what you said. It was a 4th and 3.5, 4. That's the problem. You go for it. Anything like under 10, like you're not even thinking about it. That's the whole problem. It wasn't even a long fourth down that you had no chance of picking up. And you still go for it because you're playing in the damn Rose Bowl. Come on.
That's correct. Absolutely bonkers, if you ask me. It really is. Well, I can tell you this. Ohio State marches down the field and scores some points here. That'll be all she wrote at that point. There's no point for Dylan Gabriel or anybody else to come in here, Cam. You might as well just pack it up and move on because this is where Ohio State. Now, listen, Oregon scored just enough here to keep Ohio State interested in not taking their foot off the gas, and that could be a very bad thing. But even on that holding penalty score that they just threw there to end the third quarter, they had picked up 11 yards on running the ball like it was like nobody was on the field. So I do think that this is going to be extremely interesting. Final 15 minutes. Ohio State, I think, puts the nail in the coffin right now on the Oregon season by simply marching down the field, taking off some time, and scoring. That's it.
You are the best North Carolina basketball better than these guys are down 1 now. They were getting slaughtered. They're on like some crazy run. Like, what is going on with you, Joe? You are the Tar Heel whisperer. The Tar Heel whisperer. I got money on Louisville. You better slow down, Raineri. After the break,
I just said second half. I said second half. That's all I said in game one. Game day continues.
In the heart of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans bound by passion. Each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five, because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhardt and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480? I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live, a game day here as we look to close out this hour together, and the Rose Bowl as the Oregon Ducks pretty much being throttled here by the Ohio State Buckeyes. It is a 41-15 Ohio State lead. The Ducks do have pretty good field position here, as Ohio State did, after a holding penalty, get backed up into their own end and eventually punted it back. So right around midfield is where Oregon will take over. But at 41-15, 13 minutes ago, Cam, and we were just saying, the problem for me is that Oregon does nothing quickly. Everything that they've been settling for the dink and dunk. There's no big playability here because Ohio State is basically dropping everyone back. So they can't go 2 plays, 85 yards and a touchdown. And that is probably why, not probably, I mean, that's why this game is nearly impossible for Oregon to get back into it.
Yeah, and you said it, Joe. If they have, like, losses by sack or whatever, like if it's 4th and 22, Lanning's already basically waved the flag. Are they going to go for it after he punted before? So, yeah, that's a problem. The question now is, if Oregon scores, Joe, they will probably keep Howard in the game and the starters, I think, for another possession. Would you not think? If not, if they don't score this time and they get the ball back, it could be a wholesale change for the Buckeyes. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, listen, at this point, there's no reason to think that the backups of Ohio State won't absolutely pummel Oregon as well here, because if you're Oregon, oh my goodness, not a good way to go out here as we're watching the band, and I don't know what they're celebrating. The edible's clearly kicking into the band at this point here because
smoke them, eat them.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we're doing here as they're trying halfback passes, which I think is great. Dan Lanning looks absolutely, for the first time that I have seen, just totally overmatched. No clue as to what he's doing here. Now, I'll say this, right? It's basically a 7-7 second half. It would have been much better, Cam, certainly from our perspective and the viewing perspective, if this game would have been a little bit more what we've seen in the second half. But the The big plays, the inability, Oregon coming out rusty, not looking the same. You got to give Ohio State all the credit in the world, but it was clear that one team looked in rhythm like they've been playing football and playing really good football, and the other team looked like they were trying to figure it out. And if it was just a one-off, Cam, but we've seen this with every team that had a week off early in these games, they dug themselves a hole that they had to try to come back from, and not one of them has, Cam. Boise didn't do it. Arizona State didn't do it. And it certainly doesn't look like Oregon's going to do it. All three of those teams were sitting on the sidelines. It makes me wonder about the Georgia game tomorrow. It really does.
Yes. Oh, that's the thing, Joe. We talked about it in all the games. Like, I got to believe, though, this is going to be the one game where Georgia and Notre Dame play it tight. Don't you, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see one team getting out, like, over a couple scores, like maybe 14-0, but not like this game. That was absolutely insane, 34-0. Like, they're too evenly matched. Like, you see, and we were surprised with the point spread line closing Ohio State 2.5. But I got to believe in a lower scoring game, Georgia, Notre Dame, like, Joe, I don't see either side. Do you see either side pulling away? That's going to be the game that's going to be tight, I think, from the start to the end. Nobody's pulling away in that one. No way. I see them playing it real tight. Defense reigning.
The problem I have with that one there, too, is that I just don't know what you're going to get from a backup quarterback in Stockton on Georgia. I don't know. Georgia always starts games slow, and they're better in the second half, much like the North Carolina basketball program right now, where they dig themselves these crazy holes, and then in the second half, they go bonkers. Georgia's been doing that all year long. And my fear is, if you have Beck in there, that's one thing, but you got a backup quarterback who is really the X and the wild card here. And all of a sudden you're down 10-0, you're down 10 points up. What, are we dropping him back and letting him throw against that defense? I don't know, Cam. No. That's the problem here. That's what I'd be worried about.
I agree with you 100%, and that's the thing. He can move a little bit, Joe, but Notre Dame's got a real defense, and you saw what they did. Like, Indiana scored, even in that game, they scored late in that game. The fact they even covered a teaser was crazy in itself. So I'll tell you, be careful. I think Notre Dame's D's can shut these guys down.
All right, another hour in the books. Come back and join us in-game live game day here on the grid.
In the heart of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans bound by passion. Each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five, because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhart and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480? I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the Sports Grid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Cam Stewart as we have been following along on the Rose Bowl, which has, not been a great one for the Oregon Ducks here as they find themselves.
What's a loser flower, Joe? Daffodils? What's
Yeah,
like a weed? Yeah, it's no rose. This game's like the loser flower. It sucks.
Oregon, 41-15 right now. They are down against Ohio State. 10 minutes ago in this one. And again, earlier today, we did watch Texas, the Longhorns, who did not play great, were outplayed for most of that game against Arizona State, but found a way to win in 2 overtimes and to pull it down 39-31. Did not get the cover. That game did go over thanks to a wild fourth quarter from Arizona State. And then, of course, a couple touchdowns in overtime got that game flying over the total. Texas is now advanced at the Cotton Bowl. They await the winner, and let's just call this what it is. Ohio State will be heading to the Cotton Bowl to take on Texas. Kind of advantage Texas having a game in their own backyard there, Cam. I will admit, having the Cotton Bowl as the backdrop, I can promise you that's going to be a very pro-Texas crowd there on the 10th here in about 10 days. Not that Ohio State fans don't travel, but that's in Dallas. That's in the backyard of Texas, and there are going to be a whole lot of Texas fans at that place.
Good call, Joe. And another thing with Texas, too, is like the way they played today at the end of that game. You talk from a value perspective, the line's probably going to be inflated looking at the way Ohio State played in this game. But don't kid yourself. You bring up a good point. There'll be Texas fans, but Ohio State fan will travel. Colby mentioned it, too. Like they're all over the Rose Bowl. It's not just like you think Oregon, Pacific, West Coast, whatever. But Ohio State fan does travel. And to be honest with you, Joe, I don't even think they really care. The way they're playing right now, fans, no fans, whatever, they're on a mission. I don't care if the game's in Columbus, on the road, Texas, Cotton Bowl. The way they're playing, it's like bring it on anywhere, anybody.
Yep, I agree. So they are, it looks like it was a forward pass, I think is what they had said. So they brought it back. So now it's 3rd and 13. With Gil and Gabriel, who was scrambling, tried to lateral a ball back like a hook and ladder, but it just did not work out. So now Oregon is going to find themselves in in the end zone for the most part. So it does appear, Cam, that a 41-15 game is now a 41-21 game, and I don't see any point in going for 2. It looks like you're going to need just the extra point, right?
I got 62.5. Go for 2, and don't get it.
Yeah, they're not going to, though. That's unfortunately for them.
It is. Hey, I'm happy for you. Right now, you're winning your second half bet because of that play. Huge.
Yes. Oh, they are going for 2, Cam. I'm sorry. They are going for 2.
And
they wow, almost got it. It looked like. I don't think they got it, though. That was close. Yep, they did not get it, though, unfortunately.
They didn't get it. Okay. Hey, Joe, I'm alive for 10 minutes. Exactly. There's 10 minutes left in the game.
So it is 41-21. It's a 3-score game. 10 minutes to go. Again, none of this matters if you can't get off the field, defense. And my question is, Cam, if they can get a 3 and out, get the ball back, they got to make it a 2-score game, if that is the case. And then are we a little worried here at this point that maybe Ohio State takes their foot off the gas here? I mean, it is a 3-score game with 10 minutes to go. I mean, for the most part, this game is over. However, they need a couple of first downs, no?
Now I'm thinking, Joe, to our earlier point, What the friggin' were you punting for earlier, you morons? You're down.
Yes.
This is what we're talking about. You never wave the flag.
Exactly correct, Cam.
Never.
Yep.
Imagine they get a first down and they score a touchdown there and it's 41-28 or 29. How do you feel about yourself? You're alive with 10 minutes left. If it's down to under 2 touchdowns,
do you onside kick here, Cam?
Yes.
Do you onside kick?
It's going to screw my total, but for you, like I'm just looking at things from a regular perspective. Without, you onside kick. You do anything you can to get the ball in the position. You can't kick it to the deep, Joe. There's only 10 minutes left in this game, and you're down 20 points.
And that's exactly what they did. Yeah, they kicked it deep. So that's great.
These guys
I don't
are
even know what that is.
I don't either.
I don't even know what that is. They
tried to do the
punting down 25 points. Now I have no idea. Another bit of good news here. We'll let you guys know in case you haven't heard earlier today in the NFL that Saquon Barkley has already been ruled out for this week. So there will be no breaking of Eric Dickerson's record. Jalen Hurts also has been ruled out in that Eagles game. And, Ken, there was a lot of talk about maybe he would go ahead and play just to try and get that record. But it looks like cooler heads have prevailed. And you know what? Maybe it's best that you don't play in this game against your former team, no less.
Can I just say something, Joe, too? People are talking about records or whatever. It's a crock. These older guys played less games. Everything has to be, you have the rushing record after this many games. O.J. Simpson did this many games. Saquon Barkley, this many games. It's different. You don't say rushing record. It's how many games you played in a season, you moron. And I'm sick and tired of these guys not talking. Like, you got to talk about that stuff. Oh, okay, I have the receiving record. And you played 2 more games than the other guy? Big friggin' deal.
Right.
Like, these things need to be, come on, Joe. Like, this is the thing. Like, we're not some old guy, get off my lawn or whatever. That's fact. How many games did you play to have your record? Sorry, you didn't do it like Eric Dickerson did it. Sorry, Saquon. You're an amazing back, one of the best in the league. MVP talk, even though I'd give it to Josh Allen or Lamar. But here's the deal. Like, you can't have records if you played more games than another guy who has a record.
Right.
Or it's ridiculous.
Yes. I know that same thing with Gente last night.
Yes, exactly.
No, and the argument with Gente last night about breaking Barry Sanders' record. Like, Barry Sanders did it like 2 games less than you. Like, and you still didn't get the record, by the way.
Exactly.
Like, it's like, stop here. None of that matters. The bottom line here is that the records will remain intact. Oh, my goodness. I mean, that year.
Your alma mater, too. Remember, they had Thurman Thomas, too, for all you kids out there.
Yes,
Oklahoma State's backs were like the best of the best. And another thing is, I like Eric Dickerson as much as the next guy. One of the best backs, so smooth and silky. But he didn't go on TV to talk about it. Barry Sanders just sits there in his Wranglers and goes, if you beat my record, you beat my record, even though. And he didn't even mention the games or nothing. That guy is the class of all class. The best of all time, baby.
Somebody had asked Dickerson, they're like, are you rooting for him to break it? And he's like, hell no, I'm not rooting for him to break it. Absolutely not, I don't want him to break it. I'm like, that's the honesty. I don't blame him. Like, I don't blame him. But I'm wondering if Saquon really, Saquon, to his credit, really downplayed it after that game against Dallas. And he was like, I'm not, it's not. I mean, it's having a 2,000 yard. And that's, I think, really why they kept him in that game against Dallas is they were trying to get him over that 2,000 yard mark. And he's there. I mean, it's in this day and age, a 2,000 yard season is, it's pretty darn impressive one way or the other, any which way you cut it. So kudos to him, but him and Jalen not playing against the Giants, which makes week 18 very interesting. In some spots, maybe a little more interesting than what we're getting with Will Howard, Ohio State, and Oregon, which we'll update when in-game live game day continues here on the
In the heart of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans bound by passion. Each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five, because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhardt and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480? I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Cam Stewart as we're down to the final 6 minutes of the Rose Bowl here as Ohio State just punts the ball back to the Oregon Ducks up 41-21 here. The Ducks, they've got 6 minutes to score 3 touchdowns. It seems very unlikely they may do that, but hey, it is college football. You never know. We did get a absolutely crazy one earlier today in the Peach Bowl there in Atlanta as the Texas Longhorns in double overtime outlasted the Arizona State team, the Arizona State Devils there. They were unbelievable in that game. Great heart, well coached, tough nose football there, and they almost pulled off the most amazing upset. But Texas advances. Ohio State is going to advance at this point. Penn State is already there. And then we're waiting for Notre Dame, Georgia tomorrow, 4 o'clock Eastern time is when that game would tip. Now, for all the hubbub of, let's get it a 12 team. Let's make sure it's a 12-team play, right? The more the merrier, because, the little guy could win. Yes, that's all fine and dandy. But, Cam, at the end of the day, let's just review the names of the schools who are going to be playing for a national championship. You ready? Ohio State, Penn State. Nobody's ever heard of those two. Texas, and either Notre Dame or Georgia. So tell me exactly what we've accomplished here by bringing 12 teams in.
Nothing. It's getting worse. And another thing, to Colby's point, is the team who should get home field has to play in a neutral site where there's just as many fans as the other team. We talk about the FBS system. It's great. You get home games for the teams. What is the point of playing all the games unless you have a home field advantage, Joe? Amen to what you say. Other than any team that got in this tournament, the only outsider is Arizona State that had a chance to advance one more game today. They could have won that game.
Correct.
They screwed it up. But that is the one sleeper. There are no other sleepers. So there's 12. You have 4. So 1 out of 8 teams. 1 out of 8 teams could have won their game.
That's correct.
You made your point, Joe. And great argument.
And they
couldn't
didn't
agree more. And they didn't. They still lost in overtime. Yeah. Yes.
Ultimately, we end up getting the same 4 teams that we all could have looked at preseason and been like, yeah, these 4 teams are going to be playing for a national championship.
You got it, Raineri.
So, I mean, it's ultimately the only one who ended up winning here, quite honestly, were the networks, were the amount of money they made having to play and drag this thing out for a little bit long. And I'm all right with that. But just call it for what it is, Cam. It's a money grab. It's got nothing to do with giving the little guy an opportunity to win a national championship, because it never happens. Doesn't happen in college basketball. It's not happening in college football. The same 4 teams every year. In some, I would say, Cam, even give them the same 6 teams every year. We can probably name before the season, saying in all likelihood, it's going to come down to somebody out of these final 6 teams. And that list will always include Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, Georgia,
Alabama,
and Texas.
Clemson when they were good, or Texas. Yes, exactly. Let's just say this. If we had a questionnaire before the start of the year, we're getting all 4 teams. If you go put 4 teams in whatever, like, I don't know about the exact bracket, but we're going 4 to 4. There's no surprises. There's no anything.
Correct.
And you said it. Hey, good for the networks. They make money. It's great. But, Joe, think about how this thing extends, too. Before we'd have a national championship game, now we're having national semifinals January 9th and 10th. That's a Thursday and Friday, different than before, right? You know what I mean? And then you're waiting for the national championship game and all this stuff. So more games, more money. You said it. We don't need to extend it, though. It's been proven. We have enough teams that suck to get in this tournament, and there are good teams. The cream rises to the top. You'll have a couple underdogs that'll grind, a couple that'll cover. Some will actually embarrass themselves and set them back 50 years, which a lot of these teams did, a.k.a. SMU. So let's get our heads out of our butts and figure this thing out. We need realignment. We got to figure it out. I don't even care, Joe. Keep it. You know, they're not going to go less teams after making 12, but they have to change reseeding and talk about home field and all the other things that are going on, because there's a lot of flaws in the system right now. Let's call it for what it is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, any system that has Ohio State as the 8th team.
Yeah.
Out of 12, Ohio State was the 8th seed. Like, stop it. Let's be realistic here. We all know that was not happening. And we don't do that in college basketball, right, Cam? Because the 4 number 1 seeds are the 4 best teams in the country. So that's why they're in the 1 seed in the quadrants when college basketball comes around. I don't know why it's so difficult not to be able, because, Ohio State was number 2, number 3. It should have been the 4 highest ranked teams are your 4 seeds. I don't care what happens, whether they're playing for their conference championship or not. That's not how it works. You should always have the 4 best teams seeded 1 through 4, Cam. I think that's the start you need to do with everything else.
You played NCAA baseball. Basketball gets it right. You win your conference, you get there. You're the Cinderella story. Baseball gets it right with the double elimination. Hell, NCAA hockey gets it right with the brackets like basketball. Football's the only one with the problem. And it's the one that's bet on the most. That's the only system that's kind of broken. All of the other ones are fine, in my opinion. Right? That's the only way you can do it. That's how I feel.
I agree, Cam. And what are we doing here? I think maybe, just maybe now, we're going to have a field goal. I don't know. Why are they being – tell me they're punting again, Cam, so I can scream. Just tell me. Please tell me that's not what we're doing here.
I think that could be very true. Down 20. Yep, that is a punt. Hey, I don't mind this.
Just unreal.
You're burnt toast now. You're done. It's 4 minutes left. You're down 20, but I would fight till the end. That's just me. Go down swinging.
Like, I can't even believe what we're seeing here, Cam. I really can't. I'm laughing because I'm laughing on the inside, but the reality is this must be the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. How many you're down 3 scores and you're punting?
That was the thing. At the start of the quarter, that was like, they punted then. Like, are you stupid? You guys, like, what are you doing? You were actually in the game and scored a touchdown after that. Okay, whatever.
Unreal. All right, we'll close it out. In-game live game day here on the grid.
In the heart of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans bound by passion. Each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all. It's
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one,
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five, because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhart and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480? I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in as we look to close out this edition together of In-Game Live Game Day. More In-Game Live coming up here, though, as we'll pass the baton off to Scotty Wetzel and Mark Zinno. They will have you covered and recap everything that happened here today. Plus, still got some college basketball going on, plenty of NBA action, and a lot to discuss looking forward as the final 2 minutes of the Rose Bowl winding down, and 41-21. Cam, looks to be what we're probably going to get the final score as. Ohio State sitting right around midfield, 41-21, which hopefully, fingers crossed, would leave Oregon as the second half winner here. And hopefully that's exactly what happens. I don't see, unless anything crazy is going on here, I would imagine the starters remain in for Oregon since this will be their last game. Ohio State probably bringing in the backups there. And Cam, the best part is if you had under 62.5, guess what?
Look, thank you. 2-point conversion miss. Got really close. And Joe, congratulations to you for all the viewers giving them Oregon in the second half. So, yeah, the live betting actually worked out well. Yep. Can't lie. Not a perfect day. I have the Devils, and they're probably going to lose to the Kings down 2-0. But I see that Louisville has beaten North Carolina 83-70. Yes. I guess they went on a little run at the end of that game. I'm not sure that second half crap worked out, but that game got really close for a while. I can't believe they actually won by 13. Joe, they were literally up 1 point last segment. Like, what happened there? Oh, went on a big run.
That's kind of crazy. Also, Villanova made a monster comeback in the second half. They were up 69-65 with about 20 seconds left to go. That's a big comeback there for Nova in the second half, and we are looking for that one to remain under the total. Thanks. So let's make sure that clock winds out. That would be fantastic there. Cam, so that's it. I mean, Ohio State advances to play Texas, and we await tomorrow. Georgia and Notre Dame, 4 o'clock Eastern time, will be the kickoff there in New Orleans. And, of course, our thoughts and prayers to all those affected by the tragedy earlier this morning there in New Orleans. Looks like the game will kick off, though, at 4 o'clock Eastern. The winner of that game, Notre Dame and Georgia, they're going to take on Penn State. And if I'm not mistaken now, so let's figure, Notre Dame doesn't have a conference. So Georgia, SEC, Ohio State, Penn State, Big Ten, and Texas would also be. So it's basically SEC Big Ten. Is that what we're going to be left with, Cam?
Like every single year, Joe. It's the big guy, exactly what we talked about. You want to expand the playoff. Oh, we need these teams. Yes, there's going to be a sweetheart story. What about Boise State? Yeah, enough. We'll tell you who's going to be there. We could have picked the 4 teams. We know Arizona State was a different story. They cover. They don't win outright, but hey, great effort by them. They could have won the game, but Texas still got it done, Joe. Loving that under tomorrow with Georgia and Notre Dame. I think you're on the same page. A lean to the Irish. But Zino's up next, and I don't want him to put me in some kind of chokehold. It's Happy New Year time because we know he was a cadet, and he could really do a number on me. But lean Notre Dame in the under, Joe. That's what I'm thinking.
Yes. I not a bad way to look there, Cam. We also, don't forget, I believe, we've got a couple of more bowl games coming up. Do we not here, Cam? Still to be determined coming up this week. I think Minnesota.
Duke and Ole Miss tomorrow, too.
Duke and Ole Miss tomorrow. Yep. Duke and Ole Miss. North Texas, Texas State coming up on Friday, along with Minnesota Va-Tech. And then Saturday, how about Buffalo taking on Liberty, Cam? And I'm all over Buffalo to destroy that Liberty team there. You too as well. That's what I'm talking about here.
It's my favorite. Joe, it's actually one of my biggest bets of the postseason. The Buffalo Bulls to smash the Liberty Flames. They're going to murder those turkeys in Bahamas, buddy. Buffalo, it's no vacation for them. They're going to go on a vacation after they thump Liberty. I'm with you. Go Buffalo. Let's go, Buffalo.
I love it. Let's go, Buffalo. All right. Again, Mark Zino and Scotty Wetzel coming up, taking over for us. A very happy new year to you and yours. Still plenty of football, and we got to get to a national championship at some point, but we're a little bit closer here today than we were yesterday. So should be a fun one. Looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. Enjoy the nights as In-Game Live will continue here on SportsGrid. Enjoy.
Of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans bound by passion. Each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
There's a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, this is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite. They usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhardt and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480. I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today. only on SportsGrid.